Court-martial bloopers, part 5. Okay, you guys. So when I was on deck to become a prosecutor, I was in Germany. I was in the legal assistance, and the legal assistance office was in the same concern, the same building with the courtroom. So I decided, I heard that there was going to be this guilty plea, and I figured it would be good to sit in and see one. Understand that in the military, when somebody pleads guilty, they have to go through a pretty detailed allocution of what happened, like factually what happened, what they did, and why they believe that it matches with the elements and definitions for that particular offense. This is known as the CARE inquiry from a case called United States versus CARE because there was a concern, because it was real, that commanders were kind of ordering their troops to plead guilty. And so in the civilian world, you can go in and just say, yes, I plead guilty. I understand my rights. I know I'm giving up my right to a trial, blah, 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 blah. I plead guilty. And it takes 3 minutes. It's really fast. And they don't have to explain anything. Not true in the military. Sometimes it's called the Providence inquiry. Sometimes it's called the Providency. If you're really old school, you call it the CARE inquiry. So I'm sitting here. I was, I was probably 25. Super green, but excited to learn and just wanted to see this. One of the things that really struck me at first was that I knew that nobody in the courtroom is supposed to actually have a weapon unless the military judge has approved it. And I could tell that there was a plainclothes cop, and I could tell that he had a weapon. I'm like, what's going on here? So I start listening to this proceeding, and the judge was a very proper female judge, Colonel Denise Lind, and I still remember the prosecutors, Carl the Truth Hill and Marvin McBurrows, and the defense attorney was Brian Rush. Wow, I remember all that. So the accused was pleading guilty to assaulting military police, spitting on Air Force security forces. He basically had gotten super drunk, so he was also pleading guilty to violation of a lawful order to not consume alcohol. And he was also pleading guilty to these assaults. And he got super pissed drunk and was literally pissing all over the cell. And it was disrespect to Superior Commission Officer, disrespect to NCO. And so he starts explaining what he's done. He's got this very thick New York accent. Super thick. And so the judge is having to read naughty words, right? The naughty words that he was calling his first sergeant and his commander. He had called them bitch number 1 and bitch number 2. And during the course of him pleading guilty, the judge apparently referred to the commander as bitch number 1 and the first sergeant as bitch number 2. And this guy interrupts. He's like, no. He's like, the first sergeant is a bigger bitch, and this is why, and starts explaining. And it the combination of hearing the judge say naughty words and this guy going he's the most Provident person I've ever heard in my life. This record of trial went around the world in 80 days. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And so then the judge was trying to make sure there's this issue of volition and voluntariness about when he's taking these drinks. And so she's trying to drill down on does he really understand, did he really understand when he was consuming these drinks that he, had in his mind this order not to drink. And the judge is asking these kinds of questions, and she's kind of not being as fluid as maybe she could be. And he interrupts her and he's like, ma'am, because she's like, what were you thinking when you took that first drink? I was thinking, fuck that shit. If I want to take a motherfucking drink, I can take a motherfucking drink. And fuck bitch number 1 and fuck bitch number 2. And oh my stars. This is all in the middle of a court proceeding, and I'm like this. And Marvin McBurrows, one of the funniest people I know, he's turning around and he's looking at me are you hearing this? Are we all, is this happening? This, oh my gosh. So then his attorney is actively trying to get him to simmer down and not be getting as, because he's getting agitated. He's getting agitated. And the plainclothes cop in the back is sort of on high alert. He's so excited with the idea that he might actually be able to do something to this guy. And I got the giggles. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to think that I'm laughing at him, and he's going to attack me. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to do. Like hearing the dirty words, hearing Colonel Lynn like read out loud the dirty words, and then asking him about it and going through this very formal process. I don't know if you guys thought it was funny, but I sure did. I see military lawyer.